Welcome back, everyone. It is episode 5 of the Carpenter Critique. I missed you all so much. I actually haven't recorded an episode technically for like 4 weeks now because I pre-recorded a bunch so I could go on this work trip. Very fun. Good to be back in the stew, you know. That's short for studio for like, you know, the podcast people who are listening. But seriously, thank you so much. I've had so many people text me and be like, they're watching, or even if they're not watching, they're liking the posts or whatever. I just appreciate any support ever. I'm just so grateful. I think we're up to 9 subscribers, or 7 maybe, 7 subscribers on Spotify. Woo woo! So lucky 7! Woo! So shout out to those lucky 7. I love you all so much. Thank you for being with me on this journey. And yeah, so we're on episode 5 now we're on episode 5 of the Carpenter Critique, which is kind of crazy. We're already on the 5th episode. I did a little bit of something different. The last couple times I've done shows that have been streamed or movies that were just available online. And now I went to the theater. I saw Project Hail Mary. Oh, it was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so good. But yes, it is still in the theaters now. When I release this episode, it's going to be in the theaters. So I'm doing a little bit of a different approach. For those who don't know, I'm an AMC Stubs A-list member. Sorry, you're not an A-list member? Are you poor? Sorry, poor. No, but I went and saw the movie twice, actually. I saw it in Dolby, which was amazing. If it's in Dolby anywhere near you, please go see it in Dolby. And then I just saw it again last night in preparation for this episode. But yes, we have so much to talk about. Let's get started. All right. So after seeing Project Hail Mary the first time, I honestly went into it completely blind. I figured it was a space movie, and then I figured he would be by himself the whole time. And so I wasn't really looking forward to it. I actually wasn't even planning on doing this episode at all, basically. But then I saw the movie and wow! It was so good from beginning to end. I honestly, dare I say, it's probably going to be nominated for Best Picture next year for the Oscars. Wow, it was so good. Ryan Gosling, this is probably the best performance I've ever seen him do. I mean, he was great in Barbie, and he was great. He is consistently pretty good. Ryan Gosling, yeah, well done. I think he nails it. He has the character perfectly. He's a little handsome for the role, I'll be honest. I'm reading the book now, and I'm kind of like imagining more of a dorky guy rather than Ryan Gosling, but you know what? I'm here for a hot nerd. I love a hot nerd. The movie does make you feel very smart, because a lot of the movie is about molecular biology, and basically how molecular biology can save the world. Okay, so if you have not seen Project Hail Mary yet, or if you're wanting to see it and you don't want any spoilers, I would say tune out right now. I'm about to just dive right in. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Project Hail Mary, or if you're wanting to see it and you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, I definitely recommend going to see it without any preparation for it, because I was completely blown away. So, that being said, I'm going to dive into some spoilers right now. Project Hail Mary is about a science teacher, a middle school science teacher, who is recruited by the government to save the world. In this reality, the sun is dying from a mysterious, I don't know how to describe it. They're called the little black dots, and they're eating the sun. So these little black dots are eating the sun, and they're operating on this wavelength that is going from Venus to the sun, and our sun is dying, basically. So that's the big problem, and the science teacher, Ryan Gosling, is recruited from the US government, and they start experimenting on these little space dots. Over time, Ryan Gosling keeps finding more out about the space dots, and he becomes the leading researcher in the community of studying space dots, basically. So essentially, the US government then tells Ryan Gosling that they are setting up a project. They're going to send 3 people into space to go figure out why there is one star that is not being killed by these little space dots. And they want to figure out why. The journey is way too long, and so whoever agrees to go into the spaceship and fly to that star and find out why it's not being eaten is never going to come back, essentially. They only have enough fuel to get them one way there. So it's a Hail Mary, as they say in the movie. And as the title suggests, it's honestly such a cool plot, and it made me even more inspired to read the book, so I'm reading the book now. so good. It's very, very good. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the solo adventure movies. I really do like when there's collaboration and other characters, and so I was kind of like, oh, is it gonna be good? And just when you think you kind of understand what's going on in the movie, it takes a turn, which I love. As he's on his journey, he meets the space creature, Rocky. He also is the only one alive on his ship, so they send people, 3 people from Earth, and the other 2 end up dying on the journey, but Ryan Gosling survives. And it's been a long time, but he's finally greeted by a different spaceship, and that spaceship has a member aboard named Rocky. Well, his name is like, but for short, we're gonna call him Rocky, because that's what Ryan Gosling does. And Rocky is also trying to save his planet from the little space dots, and he's from the planet that Ryan Gosling is trying to go to. So together they decide to work in collaboration and try to figure out what they can do to save each of their planets. It is a really far-fetched idea, and I think now explaining it, it sounds kind of dumb, but I swear it's really good. I wasn't expecting to be emotionally tugged in the way. I think because of how open the alien is to collaboration with Ryan Gosling, it was a true testament to, like, loneliness, but also a testament to, like, when we search for the good in people, we might just actually find it, which I think is really, really cool. And what a message. If I could advertise it in 5 words, it'd be like, Gosling saves Earth through friendship. Because that's essentially what he does. And it's an amazing, that's like, I don't know. Hollywood is producing a lot of these reboots and sequels, and this was a truly original story. It was based on the book, of course, but this book is such an original story as well. It's not just a sci-fi adventure. It's a really cool exploration of friendship and how far you're willing to go to save someone or just save the world. It really got me thinking, if the average person was put in this position to give their life away to save the entire world, would they do it? And this book puts that into perspective, not only for Ryan Gosling's character, but I think it also, he's so normal that, like, it gives me empathy for him. That could have been anyone. I mean, you need a degree in molecular biology, but he's a science teacher, and his life completely changes over the matter of days. And then he's sent off into space against his will, and he ends up saving the world. Oh my gosh, when that reveal happened. Okay, so for more context, as the story's building and building and they're working to save the world, it's awesome. It's flashing back and forth, which I thought was really well done. It's not just one through-line story. It's kind of 2 stories put into one, and you're flashing back to his old life while following him in his new life with Rocky and trying to save Earth. In both realities, he's saving Earth. And, I mean, I think the flashbacks were really well done, because the climax of the movie is saved for the very end, and I think there's some times when I could see people getting bored, but right when people are starting to, like, lose interest, they throw in another plot point, and boom, you're hooked again. Which is, especially if you're having a 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movie, you're gonna need some good storytelling in the middle, not just, like, build up until the end. Though I will say the climax was absolutely worth waiting for. That climax being that Ryan Gosling's character wasn't actually choosing to go on the space journey, he was forced. Because the other scientists were killed in a, like, accidental explosion. So, though it's super tragic, you also see the logic of, forgot her name, but there's the head government lady, like, you know, the one boss bitch in charge. She is the one running the whole operation. And she believes in Ryan Gosling so much, and rightfully so. He does end up saving the world. So even though it's a very questionable call to send someone out into space against their consent and against their will, it might have been the right one, because she saved the world by doing that. I mean, Ryan Gosling saved the world, but she's the one who put him there. And he needed to be pushed. I know that's a little bit of a questionable take, but I mean, it did work out in the end, didn't it? If it didn't work out, I mean, really bad call, for sure. Consent absolutely matters, for sure, for sure. But she did know that he was the right one for the job, and he did figure it out, like we say. So, in the second time that I watched the movie, there was so much more foreshadowing that I didn't realize. There's a part when the head government lady, I forgot what her name is. I need to come up with a name for her, like maybe Jeanette or something. But I'm gonna say Jeanette, the redhead. There's a part in the movie when the girl is singing about, "This is the last time I'll see you, and it was nice while it lasted." And at this point, Ryan Gosling doesn't know he's going to space. But you totally see it coming. I didn't even catch that the first time I watched it, but the second time, there was a lot of tragedy that she was really, really sad to send him. I think she liked him and she wanted him to stay. But she goes against her own wants because she knows that the Earth would be better off if he went to space to save it. And she was right, but it is a sad loss for not only him, but for her too. In the end, it does work out that he's able to send the plans back. However, he doesn't make it back to Earth ever. There is a couple twists and turns, but Rocky has enough fuel to get Ryan Gosling back to Earth, and Ryan Gosling is then going back to Earth, and he's faced with a critical decision because a lot of the little space dots get out, and they're able to eat through Rocky's ship. And so Ryan Gosling can either save Rocky, turn back and save Rocky, or he can go back to Earth and go back to his life that he didn't even know he was going to have the privilege to live out. And guess what our hero does? He saves Rocky! He saves Rocky! It honestly, oh my gosh, it was so good. I was blown away. I loved it. I also think I'm a sucker for a good space adventure regardless, and if you love sci-fi at all, I feel like you'll eat this movie up. You'll gobble it up. Just like they gobbled me up, I'll be honest. I was like, damn, they just knocked my socks off. By far the best movie I've seen this year. I can't even think of one that competes. It's easily Project Hail Mary is the best movie I've seen this year, for sure. I also think there was a lot of good moments of cinematography and video editing. A lot of people are really against the use of CGI, which I totally understand and I totally get, but there's a lot of beauty in what visual effects can make. I think when we can test the boundaries of human creativity, even in any art form, if it's visual effects like that, if it's in art, if it's in movies, if it's in sculptures, I think there's a remarkableness when you see something that you've never seen even replicated before. There's a couple scenes that he's just in space by himself, and Rocky is able to produce a lot of different lights, and Rocky sees differently than we do, of course, but I don't know, there was so much room to play with it creatively, and what a great idea to turn this book into a movie, because it really was such a visually stunning experience. And I haven't had that in a really long time, so I thought that was really great. Even the CGI of Rocky was really well done, and the way that it was like a friendly alien, but you don't want him to be too cartoony, and you wanted him to be a real force of a character, and it was. There's a whole segment where they're trying to pick a voice for how Rocky is gonna sound when they're translating each other's sentences. Oh, I thought that was so funny. There was so much humor throughout the entire film. I honestly have nothing but good things to say. It was so good. I would gladly see it again. I might see it again tonight if I'm feeling crazy, you know. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive into our research study because I've got a lot to say. So, the research psychology study that I've decided to choose was Walker and Frimer's Moral Personality of Brave and Caring Exemplars. This is from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. Alright, so the article investigates a fundamental question in moral psychology. What kind of personality produces real-world moral action, not just moral thinking? So rather than focusing only on moral reasoning, like knowing what's right and wrong, they're focused on what type of personality of a person really determines if they're going to take action when action needs to be taken. And so they're trying to identify personality traits and life patterns that are associated with moral action, and also test whether morality is rooted in a coherent personality or if it's just rooted in knowing between right and wrong. So their methodology, or what they did, was they had 100 adults total for the study. They had 50 what they're calling moral exemplars. So these are people that they have determined as like heroes, real life heroes. So firefighters, doctors, caretakers, so on and so forth. So they split up the group of 100 into two. So two groups of 50. 50 people were seen as just regular people that weren't doing heroic acts every day. And then the other 50 were the moral exemplars. Those moral exemplars were split up into two groups. 25 were bravery exemplars, which were rescuers or risking their lives every day. Firefighters or emergency services or people working in the ER, stuff like that. Doctors. And then there was also a caring exemplar group, which is long-term caregivers or helpers. So within this, they had two parts to their studies. So they had an interview in which the person would talk about their life story, and they were told to frame it like a story. So they were told to make meaning out of their story, identify where they got their identity from, which emotions they felt, how they were developed over time, like how their personality was developed over time. And then the other part of the study was a personality test. So they tested for empathy, conscientiousness, identity development, and then moral reasoning. This mixed method approach is key because with the personality test, they're able to make math from the personality. So they identified numbers with the empathy and conscientious and like moral reasoning numbers, as well as with a qualitative research, which was that interview and the giving of the life story. A very in-depth study because you're not only getting quantitative data, but qualitative data as well. Very cool. Good job, Walker and Frimer. Also, we're trying to, so some of their key findings were moral action is not just about moral reasoning. So a lot of the traditional studies about moral psychology or like whether a person is good or bad is honestly more based on knowledge. So like if they know about what is good and what is bad, or if they know what the right action to take is, versus this one is a lot more about action, which I think is very cool and very relatable to what Project Hail Mary is. This study shows that personality factors significantly improve the prediction of moral behavior beyond moral reasoning alone. So in short, knowing what's right is not the same as doing what's right, and this study shows it. There are two distinct types of moral exemplars, like we talked about earlier, brave and caring. The brave moral exemplars performed high-risk and short-term acts of bravery. They were motivated a lot by agency, which is like courage or assertiveness or just action. And then the caring exemplars, or like the good moral people that were more caring, were engaging in long-term helping behavior and motivated by empathy, relationships, and care. So in these different ways to have, I think it was important to have different ways of being a good person, or like different ways of morality, as they're saying, because there's not really one right way to be a good person, but they're showing that you can be really caring and take action. And though that's rare, it does happen, and we have these heroes within our midst. So with this dual motivation personality core, they determined that being a good person is not only taking action or taking agency, but also having communion and being motivated by relationships with others and showing true concern for another human being. So this combination is rare, but it's central to moral behavior. Also, one of the biggest findings from this study is that moral people were telling their stories differently. The moral exemplars use redemptive narratives. So a lot of times their story started with negative experiences and they turned it into positive meaning, or if they had suffering, that turned into growth. They also emphasize a lot of early helpers, so mentors, caregivers, role models when they were younger, and a lot of, honestly, secure attachment that was able to, they were learning from their secure attachment so that they could be a secure attachment when they're going forward too. So moral identity is constructed over time and through meaning making, not just traits. So you're not just born a hero, you have to see how your life has created meaning, or what meaning has come from your life. Maybe you've gone through suffering, and from that suffering you've seen a lot of growth, or maybe some things that you wish didn't happen that you were able to make great. But a lot of that is what really makes these heroes who they are. So a major problem in psychology, like I said earlier, is the judgment-action gap. So a lot of people know what's right and wrong, but not everyone acts on it. And I think what's big about this study is that it really focuses on action. It's personality plus your identity is the bridge between knowing and doing. Another good thing, so early theories would suggest that being a good person is just knowing about what is good and like deciding to do what's good. Versus this is moral functioning is within the whole person. So it's in the actions we take, it's in the words we say, it's within our knowledge, but it's also within our personality and how we create meaning from our life. Some of the biggest takeaways from this is that moral behavior comes from personality, not just beliefs. You need motivation, you need identity, and you need emotional structure, not just the knowledge of what's right and wrong. There are multiple types of moral people. Courage and bravery is one, and compassion and care is another one. And the strongest moral examples have both, action and care. Your life story helps shape your morality, so how you see yourself is totally going to determine what actions you take in the future. If you see yourself as not the hero, maybe there is something that you want to care about. Or if you're not seeing yourself as the hero, maybe ask yourself why. Why don't you see yourself as a hero of your own story? Is there something that maybe you want to resolve, or is there something that you think helps or pushes you towards more villain or even an anti-hero? But it's a good question to ask yourself. Do I even see myself as a hero? Maybe I see myself as a side character in my own life. But also, a good takeaway from this is that relationships matter. Not only for this, but in Project Hail Mary as well. If you have some secure attachments in your life, it's really good to lean on those and to show yourself you're worth committing to people for. There's a lot of good. I feel so blessed in my friendships. I'm not in a relationship or anything. Very single. But I do think it's such a cliche to be like, you are who you surround yourself with. But I would say you are who you invest in. If you're investing yourself in a lot of bad people and you're looking up to those people that maybe you think are morally questionable, is it a loyalty thing or is there some type of bond? But who do you look up to? And why do you look up to them? And if so, can you lean on them? Or do you allow them to lean on you? And what's your attachment like with them? This was a good study in pointing out what secure attachments really do to help people. And it really can motivate you to see yourself in a different light as well. Just like we see in Project Hail Mary. Boom. Brought it full circle, baby. I'm getting better at this podcast thing. I really think I am. Tying it into Project Hail Mary, it's kind of looking at Ryland Grace, the main character, and saying, what type of hero is he? And I think it's worth noting that he doesn't see himself as a hero in the beginning. Another huge foreshadowing thing, when he's talking to one of the people going in the spacecraft, it's, I think, the mechanic. Ryan Gosling's character is like, I don't have the hero gene. That is not me. I am not going into space. It's crazy that you guys are, but it's so awesome. Good for you. And the guy responds back with, you just need to find someone that you're willing to save the world for. Ryland Grace doesn't have anyone like that in his life. I think there's hints of it, but there's no one that he's truly willing to put it on the line for. And we've noticed that change in him as he meets Rocky. When he meets Rocky, he's a lot more open to this connection. They want to help each other. They're trying to save their own worlds, but also it's a fully cooperative thing. I think Ryland Grace is a really good brave exemplar from the jump. He's willing to take action. He takes action with his students every day, and he takes action with immediately getting involved in the research about the little space dots, and he's constantly taking action. He just doesn't know where to place his care, and he's kind of scrambling all over. He knows he cares about the Earth, but he doesn't care about it enough to give up his life. He wants to have his life still. And even in the twist of the story, he actually doesn't give up his life, which you're thinking the entire time, oh, he's a hero, he did it. No, he didn't. He didn't take action when it really mattered most. He chose to stay behind. He was forced to go on this mission. It's not even until later that he takes action to save Rocky and save someone else other than himself. I think Rocky is a perfect example of the caring exemplar in this study. He embodies what the paper or the research would call deeply relational and cooperative by default. He is looking for connection all the time, and he is so open to it when he meets Ryan Gosling's character, Ryland Grace. I'll just say Ryland Grace. Rocky is motivated by mutual survival and trust, and he doesn't hesitate when cooperating with Grace. It's Grace the one that kind of has the boundaries at first and then lets them go for Rocky. Instead, he forms bonds quickly. Rocky prioritizes shared success over individual survival, and he is embodying empathy, loyalty, and long-term cooperative thinking. Rocky is the caring exemplar, hands down. And Rocky rubs off on Ryland Grace because Ryland Grace, in the end, chooses to save Rocky. He finds someone worth saving the world for, and that's what he does. There was a really good foreshadowing moment there in the movie as well. The big argument about the paper is that moral behavior is shaped by how people interpret their own life story, and I think it's very fair to say that Ryland Grace did not see himself as a hero, and arguably that's probably why we all relate to him. Because he's not putting himself at the center of the story. He's not Superman either. He hesitates when it comes to making big decisions. He avoids responsibility, and he lacks integration. Like, he lacks integrating himself into the big picture. He's kind of always trying to stand by, but just give helpful hints. And then it's not until the very end that he truly decides to save the world. It's more or less a redemption arc, which this paper, I think, gives a little bit of room for when you find secure attachments. The paper is arguing that you find early secure attachments and that's creating a hero, but I would argue that you can find those secure attachments at any point in life, just like Ryland did. And honestly, I feel like I've made a lot of secure attachments more in my life later rather than earlier, and it's a lot of the people that I'm still close with I met later in my life than right in the beginning. Not like arguing that I'm like a great person or whatever, but just saying a lot more of my secure attachments came later in life, and I think the same for Ryland as well. Before he meets Rocky, he is all action without any moral commitment. He finally, in the end, integrates his agency, his ability to act, and his care. His care for Rocky and his care for the world. He's not saving humanity because it's logical or it's the right thing to do. He's saving it because Rocky matters to him. And he's saving this being because Rocky matters to him. And he's making a moral choice, but that moral choice saved everyone, not just himself. Why I think this hits so hard psychologically is because the study helps explain why this story works so well. We don't trust the perfect heroes. If it was Superman, it'd be different, right? Like, Superman would be flying into the universe, going to the star to see what's happening, without hesitation, just because he has that in him. And I really, really like that it's a redemption arc of a person rather than just a hero going to save the world, because honestly, we've seen that before. The relationship between Rocky and Ryland is what creates the moral action in the very end to save one another. This aligns with that moral exemplars have key relational influences. So good people have other good people in their life, and they're not afraid to lean on them, and they're not afraid to stick their neck out for each other in the end. Project Hail Mary isn't just a sci-fi adventure, it's a case study in moral development. Grace starts as a fragmented moral figure, and Rocky represents pure moral clarity. Their relationship creates a fully integrated moral identity, and in the end, they save the world. Then they're a hero. Big takeaway here is that the most moral actions aren't just actions. A lot of times they're relational, and they're for someone that you care about. Grace doesn't save the universe because he's a hero. He refuses to abandon someone he cares about, and that's what makes him a hero. That is all I have prepared for you guys this week. So, thank you so much for listening. I totally recommend going to see Project Hail Mary. It is still in the theaters. And if you want to follow, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But thank you so much for following if you have been. And I look forward to sharing next week. Excited for what it's going to be. You can follow me on all social media at the Carpenter Critique, except on X, I'm Carpenter Critic. And you can also follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You are available to watch the full thing if you want, or you can listen on the podcast websites. So also check out my website. It's www.thecarpentercritique.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye!